Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hey, hello. How you doing? Welcome. It's as gray out today as it was beautiful blue-skied and fluffy white-clouded yesterday. And it's colder, too. It's Tuesday, the 12th, Fat Tuesday, as I've been informed. Doesn't mean anything to me. Fat Tuesday, Fat Wednesday, Fat Thursday, Fat Friday. I'm just fat. My sister Susan can attest to that. Hi, Suze.
Hi, me too.
Yeah. Well, here we are.
Yeah, what the hell?
Indeed. Well, geez. We got some big stories to discuss. We got the Pope. Or as somebody, I think this is funny as hell, and I don't know why nobody else is laughing at it. You know how the Speaker of the House, the Speaker or whatever, what is it, the Sergeant at Arms says, the President's about to give his, Mr. Chairman, doesn't he say that? Or Mr. Speaker?
Right.
The President of the United... Okay, and then all that hooing and hawing and cheering. God, I hate States of the Union address. Anyway, so somebody tweeted yesterday after the Pope resignation news came out. Ladies and gentlemen, the formerly infallible Joe Ratzinger.
That's exactly what I was thinking. If the Pope is infallible, once you resign, do you lose your infallible power?
Yeah, I think so, because you're no longer the vicar of Christ. I would think, yeah, he's just essentially a priest.
It's such magic, don't you think?
It is magical, but then there's a lot of magical things when we're talking about institutions of faith. But the formerly
infallible, right?
The formerly infallible Joe
Ratzinger. That's exactly what I was thinking. It doesn't work. And now I'm seeing that they're doing this big thing, like it's announcing that they admit that he has a pacemaker, as if that explains it all. And I'm going, well, wait a minute. Our father, got along famously for approximately 45 years with a pacemaker.
Yes. So that's okay. I'm sorry. I just got an email about a former...
And his battery got replaced a few months ago. We know all about that, too.
Who? What? Who? What battery?
The Pope's pacemaker got a new battery a couple months ago. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, and nothing. I should just keep this private. But I just got an email from somebody about her mother, who had been a listener and caller to my show forever, and haven't heard from her in 10, 12 years. And I was so afraid she was going to tell me she was gone, but she's not. She's telling me, though, where she is and a phone number and stuff. And I think a lot of people who are longtime listeners will remember Carolyn from Monroeville. She was one smart cookie. And so she is alive, but she's very frail and in very bad health. People had asked about her ages ago, and then I think, because she had fallen off the radar screen in terms of people who called, she was such a smart caller, When you do this kind of thing, there's a community that gets formed, and then people when
you have real, even though you don't really know them, you have very real relationships with them.
That's true, and there have been a few instances where I've ended up in hospital rooms when I've found out, and I only meet the people as they're. Oh well, I'm sorry. I just saw the thing about Carolyn Monroeville, and I had to click on it because I can't. I'm an impatient person, but actually, the good news is she's still around, and maybe I'll be able to get in contact with her. Okay, so yeah, the Pope thing. Now, we don't know what his health is, and in fact, he's an old man. He's 86. That job is intense.
It's hard work, and it requires a lot of traveling.
It requires a lot of traveling. It requires constantly being sort of on display and having to, carry yourself in a certain way. The man that is Joe Ratzinger might have found it just unbearable at this point in his life with the little time he has left. Also, he knows that he wasn't up to the job. I think it's a very courageous thing he did. And what's funny about it to me is that this guy who was I think of as such a conservative and traditionalist has thrown a bomb into the Vatican because no one in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years has ever done such a thing. That's not he didn't do a traditional thing. He did a radical thing.
No, but it's a fine precedent to set, which is the church taking some sort of judicial notice, as it were, of the changing world and the changing state of medicine that prolongs life but not necessarily vigor. And, a pope could serve for life and still die with an intact mind and be pretty good up until the time that he died. And that's, if you're going to go on forever, that's not the way it is. So it's a nod to things change. And maybe they should apply that to a few other things, too.
She said, parenthetically.
No, it just shows that nothing is immutable. Things change, and they change simply with the decision of one man, just like that.
Well, I wish I never warmed up to this guy in any way.
No, I didn't either.
And I don't think we're alone there. But I don't know. In some ways, my heart goes out to him now, and I hope he...
Yeah, but in some ways, it's also not inconvenient. All of these rumblings don't go away, and it wasn't going to be pleasant to be, somebody who is if there is such a person who can stand to clean up the mess that the church created, that has to be done, and it has to be done by someone with some sort of integrity on the subject.
Yeah, but the odds of that happening are not great, simply because...
No, because the hierarchy is such that they all move through that rank.
That's right. They all, between this pope and the long-serving pope before him, the College of Cardinals is absolutely packed with conservatives and traditionalists. But I bet they try to reach out to somebody who's more charismatic, more able maybe to work the media, more politically savvy, and maybe more capable of keeping the Vatican under control, because there was an obvious sense that he had no control over the Vatican. He wasn't an administrator. They elevated a theologian in him. The job is not a job for a theologian. I hate to tell you this, but the job is a job for a politician and an administrator.
Somebody that understands that the people in his ranks gossip and double deal and sell stories and talk out of turn.
Yeah.
And he had no handle on that at all.
So no, wasn't in his skill set. And maybe he knew it, and he just, who knows? But I think there's...
Well, his own valet ended up in jail.
No, although he's out already.
Yeah, I know.
He's
he pardoned him.
He's out, and he's already serving in another capacity in the Vatican. He's still in the Vatican, the guy who stole the... Wow. They have they're into forgiveness. So, yeah, the Pope forgave him, and I don't know if the Pope was able to pardon him, but out he is. I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch, I guess, but ultimately disheartening on my part because, there's no way this institution is going to move as rapidly as I would like to see it move. And all this talk now about the Pope should be, and I do agree with this, next Pope should come from one of two continents, South America or Africa. Those are the two places with the large, in Africa where the church is growing, although facing quite a threat from evangelical Protestants, not to mention Islamists. And then you got South America where, everybody's Catholic, and I think it would be a great thing for them to see a pope. There'll never be an American pope. Ever. Do you think?
I don't think so.
Well, you can't. It's stupid to say never, but the American church is... American Catholics... American Catholics are not attending weekly Mass.
No, American Catholics are more culturally American than they are culturally Catholic.
That's right.
And it's a change, but that's what's happened.
And
they differ on, they live their lives, and at least the people that I know live their lives, even, and some of them really are daily communicants, but they simply discard the parts that are at odds with their life.
Even the daily communicants?
Yeah.
Well, that's odd.
Well, there are people in my family, I guarantee you, that used birth control didn't think twice about using birth control.
But they take communion daily? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying they go to Mass daily.
Oh, they go to Mass daily. But they use birth control.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, but that's what a majority of American Catholics support legalizing same-sex marriage. A large majority of American Catholics say they do not look to the Vatican as the moral authority on sexual matters such as contraception, marriage, and abortion.
Right.
And
I'm going to add in, they when people that they know and love tragically commit suicide, they then, think to themselves, well, that person isn't going to hell. That person was ill.
Yeah. God
doesn't punish people for being ill. The church can't be right about this.
Well, so much for infallibility.
But I'm just saying, and this is what I'm. These are things that I'm pulling out of my own experience. But it did not, in the end, shake their basic faith or their love of their church.
Yeah. There's an article in the Washington Post that says that American Catholics are pretty much like Americans in general. They've split into two sides that just don't. One side doesn't get the other, and there's not a lot of common ground between them. Here's a woman who is on one side. She doesn't want the church to liberalize. She says, do we want a large church of people who aren't paying attention, or a smaller church of people who are fervently attempting to be the faith that can heal the world? Who wants a church of people who don't care? I wouldn't want to be on a softball team of people who don't care. So these are the people who say you can't do the smorgasbord thing. You have to, I'm a Catholic. I'm going by the teachings, blah, blah, blah.
The Orthodox.
Those are the Orthodox. And then there's people like this man. When being a good Catholic is defined on a narrow range of sexuality issues rather than a more positive, loving vision, it's no wonder people are leaving. And those are the people who want the church to deal with the reality of their lives and to take on the bigger issues as they see them, which is helping people and not judging people and separating people and all of that.
Well, not only that, but it seems to be this obsession with sex and sexuality that has become the very undoing of the church.
I think so too. Yeah.
From A to Z, it's every single one of those attitudes that, from abstinence to acting like they could be the moral arbiters and tell everybody else what to do while doing whatever they damn please themselves, which is, clearly it won't go away.
Well, you mean their sexual behavior is
the people that are telling everybody else and interpreting God's word.
Yeah.
It's the undoing of it.
And are hiding pedophiles.
Right.
Right. But what's, I keep thinking the Vatican has just, sort of washed its hands of the U.S. Church in many ways, the American Catholics. But the reality is the American Catholics are the third largest by country group of Catholics in the world. It's a huge hunk of Catholicism. Susan, you're usually good at this. Try to get a whack at who the larger populations of Catholics. What two countries outrank U.S. for most Catholics?
In
the world.
In the world, which two countries per capita?
No. Just numbers. Where are most Catholics? America has, I forget how many, 74 million Catholics in the United States. There are two nations.
You can pick whole Catholic countries like France or Italy, but they aren't going to come anywhere near the number.
No.
In the United States.
Okay, so
it has to be a big country, but the bigger countries don't. It can't be China.
There's two more. There's two.
So China's one of them.
No. China's not. Not a lot of
Canada?
No. You're usually good at this. Okay. Brazil.
Oh, okay.
And, this might be a surprise, the Philippines. And, there's a third one. And Mexico.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
I just didn't think they were physically big enough to contain enough people.
No. But, there they are. So there's...
Brazil is, yeah.
And Mexico. Mexico's, a hugely populated country. So, and Catholics make up 1/4. People who identify as Catholics make up 24% of the American population. And even with the influx of more Catholics as the Hispanic population grows, that's the only hope for the church here, I suppose, because the longer tenured American Catholics are falling away, I think. And let's be clear, as they are in other religions. the United States, despite the fact that it is so in the public square, so religious, the fact is America is becoming more secular, without a doubt. Americans, I think.
Well, I'm certainly far more secular than I was raised to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't stop me from being magical. And I pray with great regularity. I just watch myself in amusement while I do it.
Well, so there's obviously a need to believe there's something out there that you can appeal to.
Yeah.
Even if it's, who knows? We don't know, even if you can't define it. Barbara sent me this. Remember this blast from the past. The Vatican newspaper, L'Osservatore Romano, on the United Nations International Women's Day, said that women can best thank the washing machine for their liberation in the 20th century. The article was titled, "The Washing Machine and the Liberation of Women. Put in the detergent, close the lid, and relax." Here's where the church is a little off. What empowered women was getting control of their bodies. That's what allowed the major innovation in women's liberation in the 20th century. Vatican, I would suggest, how about the right to vote? And I think that trumps...
How about the right to have a job, to get economic freedom?
Yeah, and also the right to decide how many children they want or when they want. And the Vatican...
There was a letter today in our newspaper, which when I read down to the very end and saw that it was written by a man, I was just... I was so pleasantly surprised. It was a letter about how everybody is talking about law-abiding citizens and gun ownership, and you may not take my rights away. I am a law-abiding citizen. This is my right. And the screams and how we are quieted by these armed people demanding their rights. And then the letter goes on to say, what about the law-abiding women of this country?
Yeah.
Whose rights have been taken away, and, in terms of being able to control their bodies, in terms of their rights to access medical care, that legislators convene daily around the country and states to take away law-abiding women's rights. And no one says a word.
That's good. I mean,
written by some guy,
a gentleman.
Yeah, I just wanted to write him and say, thank you so much.
Yeah, really, for seeing.
Well done.
Yeah, for seeing the bigger picture. Wow. Well, I think we have to take a bit of a break. We will return, and then we will quiz Susan on what her plans are tonight, and they damn well better include being a good citizen and watching the State of the Union address.
I'm going to jump up and applaud at great regularity.
I'm going to...
I hate him, too.
Well, we'll be right back.
But I don't have to go. I don't have to go.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on meals from your favorite local restaurants, museums, and shows. This week only, get discounts up to 20% on gift cards to Applebee's. Supplies are limited. bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. bergbargains.com.
Join 1 Billion Rising Pittsburgh for a global day of festive resistance to end violence against women. 1 billion women assaulted and raped worldwide is an atrocity. 1 billion people dancing to end violence is a revolution. We will rise on V-Day, February 14th, 12 to 2 p.m., Market Square. www.onebillionrisingpgh.org. Strike, dance, rise.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
All right. Well, so Susan, anyway, I hate the State of the Union address. I hate everything about it. I hate the women who all wear red so they'll stand out. And I hate the ones who jockey for position so they can get on TV, and grab the president. I hate the sort of the sour faces of Republicans that they show throughout. I can't stand the fact that if I'm watching the speech, I also have to see that prune-like strange face of John Boehner sitting behind the president. I hate the interruptions of constant clapping.
Well, this year we'll get to see, close-ups of Ted Nugent's reactions.
Yes. So can you imagine that?
I mean, do they have to go through a metal detector before they can get in that room?
So every congressperson can take a guest, I guess, and some jerk from Texas is taking Ted Nugent.
Oh, it's the same guy that screamed out, "You lie," I think, isn't it?
No, I don't think he was from Texas.
Oh, okay.
Look, there's lots of these potential jerks.
I'm just conflating all of my, the people I don't like. Never mind.
But Ted Nugent, is he not the one who actually, he said something that vaguely could be considered a threat on the president's life?
He was investigated by the FBI.
No,
he said that if Obama were elected
president
again by this time this year, one of them would be dead.
Well, that apparently.
I hope. Should we send him a get well card?
Why would you take a man to this speech who has threatened the life of the speaker, who happens to be the president?
To give him permission to behave badly.
Well, the person really behaving badly is the congressman.
Yeah, really. Especially when the room is going to be filled with the survivors of mass shooting deaths.
Right. One of the teacher from Newtown who survived but was wounded. The parents of this child that was buried in Chicago this weekend. Someone from Aurora. The police officer in Milwaukee who was shot up I can't remember how many shots he took when he responded to the massacre at the Sikh temple. All those people will be there, and Ted Nugent,
whose rights are being threatened.
Well, I'll tell you, I will be appreciative. What's your guess? I do not think that any network will be looking for Ted Nugent in the crowd and show us his face. I do not think. I don't think they would do that.
Are you kidding? No. I'll take a bet on that. No network's going to show us Ted Nugent?
At the speech? No.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a bet. Oh, Susan, I got to hang on to some hope for my profession. No, I'll take that bet. How much?
Oh, I don't know.
How about let's do a Romney? $10,000.
Just remember, I'm no Mitt Romney.
Okay, yeah, I know. Okay, so $1.
Yeah, we'll just do a friendly little
$1.
Bragging rights bet.
Right. And I think there's a pool camera, right? So it doesn't matter what you're watching, you're seeing the same thing. I would think. I mean, because they don't have everybody has cameras all over the place. I would think there's one camera that all the networks pick up on, whatever. Anyway, I also find States of the Union boring.
Yeah, they are boring.
They're just,
I have a very hard time paying attention. I get fascinated by all the wrong things, like what the people who have to be on camera behind them have to, how they're trying not to sneeze or pick their nose, and, and all the bad behavior, and how many times they jump up and down for no reason, and how many times they miss their cue to jump up and down, and, all that stuff.
And then you have the stony-faced Supreme Court. Oh, God spare us. Anyway, so that's it. And I'll have to watch. And on top of that, I'll have to watch The Republican Response by Marco Rubio.
Well, which Republican response? The Republican response or the Republican response to the Republican response?
Oh, yes, because Senator Rand Paul will be giving the
minority Republican response.
Those Republicans, I'll tell you, Marco Rubio is not conservative enough. And I heard someone say, well, they got to put this face out there, Marco Rubio, because, he's not white. Yes, he is. What are they talking about? He ain't white. That's white. What is he? He ain't brown. Marco Rubio, his parents are what, from Cuba?
It's the silly... No. If you're Hispanic, you must have skin of a different color because you're a whole group.
But you don't. Hispanics can be the descendants of Spaniards. Those are Europeans.
Oh, they can be blonde, I've heard.
Blonde?
Redheaded.
They can be anything. But
That's
is
right.
not... Marco Rubio does not look like he's descended from the slaves that were brought over or the Native Americans that maybe were on the island who didn't get wiped out for some reason when we came aboard. Oh, good. We've got something from a good Catholic here. Catholic Moral Behavior by Ray. Ray, who's our...
Yeah, I apologize.
What do you mean you apologize? What?
My family. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, here's what Ray says, and as usual, he's going to inject what? Fact! Fact! Okay, Ray, I'll read it. Lynn, I'm afraid we are rolling around in a constant misunderstanding of the real, this is capitalized, of the real Catholic teachings on our personal moral choices. Contrary to the cartoonish version of the Pope telling us what to do, and that is that, the mature church teachings are those of an informed conscience. Through study and understanding and reflection of the church's teachings, we are creating a personal, adult, and informed conscience with which we must ultimately make personal decisions in matters of morals. I give you the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Here's: conscience is man's most secret core and his sanctuary. There he is alone with God, whose voice echoes in his depths. Also, a well-informed conscience is upright and truthful. It formulates its judgments according to reason, in conformity with the true good willed by the wisdom of the Creator. Everyone must avail himself of the means to form his conscience. And also, a human being must always obey the certain judgment of his conscience. And then he says, I know we look silly. I don't think there's anything silly about that. That's sort of good to hear, but I wonder if that's... Okay. And then he says, I know we look silly and absurd at times, but that is a result of centuries of crazy old men in satin slippers, raised in seclusion and wealth. But the people of God are free to follow the whispering of God in their ears as long as they have spent the time to learn his language. And Ray signs himself the token defender of the faithful. Well, Ray, as usual, if you were the voice...
Right.
Ray for Pope!
Right.
Okay.
No arguments, Ray.
Okay. Well, so if that's all true...
And a good religion, a true religion, gives you the material that you need to inform your conscience. And that would seem to be the goal of a religion. But I just am pointing out that not only the Catholic Church, but many religions, if not all, seem to be failing, in an amazing way at informing and teaching the consciences of their people, and their own clergy.
Well,
and that's it's across the board.
Okay, but how do... Okay, now, somebody help me here. how does what I just read there from the Catechism, making it sound as if it really boils down to you and God and your conscience, personal, real, you, the individual person. Well, but if the church is telling you that such and such an action is a mortal sin, where does your conscience come in there? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Well, so if the church teaches
I think
that abortion,
that, what I didn't say very clearly is that the goal of the religion is to inform your conscience with its teachings. And if the teachings, are, as in the case of the church, very clear, and I mean, Ray is right. Ray is smart enough to say, nah, those are infallible men, and I'm going to use my reason and my own talks with God to inform me about these things. That's fine, but that's really not how the church works. The church is run by those guys in the satin slippers. Yes, and they are making the rules.
Well, I'll fall back on what I always have. The institution of the Catholic Church has been and remains the most long-standing institution on this earth. Is it not?
Yes.
I mean, so there's none more successful. And even in its what seems like obstinacy and inability to reform itself, it has managed to stay alive for over 2,000 years.
Well, because it has in many ways reformed itself. And it has changed over the years and the centuries. And it should and probably will continue to do so as we see today.
Well, we'll see.
If it doesn't, it won't last because it already doesn't have any priests. It doesn't have, it's got problems.
Yeah, if it does, that's true. I mean, they got no priests.
What was I reading or listening to today or yesterday that in for example, South America, some huge percentage of masses are and services are led by the laity because there's no one else to do it.
Well, if you look in half the congregations around here, the priests are Africans.
Right.
So, and you've got, and the ranks of the women religious, the nuns who have been, throughout the church's history, the real church, if you ask me, the sisters, the women.
Women don't have to do that anymore.
No, they don't.
And that's what I learned when I was first a young college student and was doing summer jobs at the Catholic hospital in Green Bay, and I spent a lot of time with the nuns that ran it, and that's when I first realized, oh, these are just professional women.
Yeah,
this is how they got to do a job that usually men do,
mm-hmm.
but in this world, they got to be the CEOs.
Right. That's right. That's right.
So they were the first professional women in this country were nuns. It changed my whole view of who these women were.
Right.
And they don't need to do that anymore.
No, they don't. There's other
paths. They can be religious, they can have a job, they can marry, and they can hope to succeed. And if they don't get married, they don't have to go to a convent. And if they've done something bad, they don't have to go to a convent.
Right. All that's true. And
their own church doesn't treat them with much respect either, so why would you? It's changed.
There was a letter, I think, to the New York Times today by a professor of moral theology from Marquette University, and he was a priest, but he was obviously a very liberal priest, and he was saying, he was applauding the Pope for doing what he did, because he says there is no way that this monarchical papacy was the idea of Jesus or even of Peter. This is something that has arisen, this idea that you serve till your death and you're, and he mentioned if we would go back to the beginning, Peter was a married man. The first pope was a married man with a family life.
Oh, yeah.
So all of this craziness that has come, making it a totally, male-oriented institution, which is now, all those old men in their slippers.
Well, not so much old men in their satins and their resplendent reds and their gilts. I mean, they're princes of the church.
They are.
What would Jesus say? Really?
Well, I don't think Jesus would be particularly happy.
I don't think it has anything to do with what Jesus was about.
No, it has to come on. I mean, we know what it has to do with. It has to do with consolidation of power.
And wealth.
And wealth. That is correct. And that's reality. And somewhere under all that are the teachings of Jesus. They can get lost. And they can certainly get abused. So, I think it's time for another break. What do you think? Yeah. Okay. We'll be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a pep talk that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You can improve your future. Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need, we've got a pep talk for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and for free classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for great ideas for Valentine's Day. Plus, John Panette, Dark Star Orchestra, Aaron Smith, and News of the Weird. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay. Welcome back. I'm here with my sister Susan. This is a riot. Chris Cillizza in his blog, The Fix, says, if the president mentions immigration reform tonight, it might not be a good idea because a recent poll, Washington Post poll, shows that if you ask someone whether or not they think there should be a path to citizenship for undocumented workers, it's amazing. 70% of Americans say yes. Yes. And even, get this, 60% of Republicans say yes. If, however, you ask that same group the same question, but put Obama's name in it, President Obama would like a path for... The number of Republicans who say they support that plummets to 39%. Isn't that something? Really? So a person who does think that undocumented workers here should have a path to true citizenship in this country will say no if it's going to be something that Barack Obama will be able to, I guess, claim any credit for. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
It's just so sad. It's so...
All those people that insist that they aren't racist.
Well, I don't even know if that's all racism. I don't think that is. I think it's just pure hate of this guy. Well, you say it might be racial.
Yeah. What is it about him that would inspire that level of animosity? I mean, he's just a guy. They didn't hate, they did hate Bill Clinton that much, but, it was different.
I think I guess. Isn't that depressing, though? Jeez.
It is depressing.
Okay, here's something else that's depressing, Susan. I think you'll get a kick out of this. This also is about Republicans, who are, in general, depressing. That's true. You might already know this. Last year, I'm just bringing it up again because Paul Krugman brought it up in his column. Last year, he reminds us, the Texas GOP explicitly went out of its way to condemn, this, efforts to teach critical thinking skills to students. The GOP came out
Those damn schools are teaching the kids to think again.
Can you imagine? They came out
I never.
Isn't that beyond belief? Came out against teaching critical thinking skills. And their reason was because if you teach a child to think, it has this is a quote from the GOP, has the purpose of challenging the student's fixed beliefs and undermining parental authority.
Right. You teach your children to think, and they'll find out you're an idiot.
It's just mind-blowing. His column is in many ways about the stupid party, as one of its own members called it. What's his name?
That was Jindal.
The stupid party just keeps on giving. Jesus, God almighty, you just can't even make it up. Okay, and here's something that was unsettling to me, Susan. For all those on the drone issue, which we don't want to get into here because it's just too big right now. And
besides, we already know women like drones and men don't. But go ahead.
What?
Yeah, well, all of the studies show that women have a far less trouble with drones than men do.
Well, probably because women identify with drones because drones are the hard worker bees.
I think it's because women don't like to see their children slaughtered in war.
Okay, so women like the cleanliness of the drone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. At any rate, we don't. For anybody. Okay, so for all you women out there who like drones, I just want to give you this headline. Cheney backs Obama on drones.
Well, that'll make you think twice.
Yes.
Listen, even total creeps can be right every once in a while.
He actually says, I think it's a good program. I don't disagree with the policy that the Obama administration has pursued in that regard. All right, so if it's got Dick Cheney's seal of approval, you might want to rethink.
Well, it does play fast and loose with various and sundry, constitutional.
Yes, it does. However, it is where we're heading in terms of warfare. I don't want to talk about this. In
terms of warfare, it's extraordinarily efficient. And if one mother doesn't have to go to the funeral and one father doesn't have to stand on the tarmac, I'm for it.
Well, but the question is, other mothers are burying their children on the other side of it, Susan.
But they're burying fewer.
That's true.
There's
because
less
somebody said, okay,
damage.
so if you didn't...
I mean, all of those awful terms that we use, there's less of it.
There is provably, yes, less collateral damage in the use of drones than if we were to do it the old-fashioned way, which is to drop
a huge bomb on a block.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Okay. But that's all I want to deal with that at the moment because it's just so... Did you see all the mice that have died in vain? Did you see this report?
I have, and I have to say, I always wondered why they thought that the mice were working just like we were working.
Unbelievable. You know, they've used mice, medical researchers have used mice forever. How many mice have died in research labs? I ask you, hundreds of millions probably. The carnage.
Particularly the white ones for no good reason.
The little white guys. Yeah, they're killing white ones. You ever see them kill a bunch of black ones? No. White mice. Not Hispanic
We're making
mice.
ourselves choke. Yeah, and they've wasted. Talk about where to save some money. They wasted billions.
Billions. They're saying billions in research, billions in mouse.
Does not apply.
Billions in mouse lives, and billions because they said that over 150 drugs were researched this way with mice, then went on the market and then in trials with humans, just tanked and died. So it had, but mice, I guess, still work on some things, but they don't work for a lot. They're not like us.
They don't work for categories like cancer, autoimmune disorders. I mean, sort of most of the things that they were using them for, but they don't work for that.
Well, I have here, they don't work for sepsis, burns, trauma, immune system can't. Yeah. So, well, that's good news for mice today. Okay, Susan, you have, I'm going to say you, and not me, have kicked off some drone emails.
I'm usually good to get in trouble. Okay, let's go.
Oh, wait a minute. This isn't drones. This is Catholic Church. Let's not forget about when discussing the Catholic Church's longevity that a lot of it stems from persecution. Well, yeah, persecution of non-believers like...
Yeah, blowing away their enemy.
Slaughter. Well, I give you the Crusades.
Well, I give you all those people that light Sabbath candles every Friday and don't know why.
That's true. I give you the Inquisition. I give you wiping out Muslims, Jews, and anybody, and Protestants. I give you, yes, the Catholic Church. Yes, and also he says, they co-opted other religions' practices while keeping the faithful in the dark about their origins. Let's also not forget, and this speaks to your point of consolidation of power, that there was a point where the Pope had the status of a monarch. It has nothing to do with Jesus' teachings. The story of the king's new clothes comes to mind when thinking about the current church. Okay. And by the way, I find the people that are most sort of unforgiving about the church tend to be Catholics, or what they would call themselves sometimes Reformed Catholics. It's people who were raised Catholic who seem most...
Feel betrayed, truly
most
betrayed.
Venomous. Noreen says, I think women like drones because... Oh, she's picking up on my bee reference. Thank you, Noreen. I think women like drones because, like in the bee kingdom, or queendom, once the queen has been serviced by the drone, he is no longer needed and is ejected from the hive.
That's where I always go with drones, too.
All right, ladies. Behave. And Dorothea on the state of the state of our union is strong. Lynn, it doesn't matter what President Obama says tonight. Boy, truer words were never written. Nothing can get done with this House. He can preach until he's blue in the face. In my opinion, he must use tonight's speech to make Boehner, Ryan, and Cantor the bad guys. P.S. I think women like drones because they look like big penises in the sky. Jesus Christ.
Girls!
All right, everybody, get a grip. Well, yeah, I hope he puts it to him. He seems to be in a, they thought his inaugural speech was too aggressive. I would imagine he'll continue that aggression and making clear to anybody who's watching that, you know, they're obstructionists here. And it's
I mean, I just love these guys. You know, for the last 4 years, we need a leader. Where's our leader? He's so wishy-washy. Nobody's doing anything. Oh, my God, he's so aggressive.
He's a dictator! Okay. So, let's make up a drinking game for the State of the Union tonight so that I can get myself through it.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to take a swig every time. I mean, we can't make it too easy. Like, you know, every time.
It can't be every time they applaud, or we won't, you know.
No, we won't.
It'll take 2 bottles.
Yeah, we won't get through the... Okay, so, should it be a phrase? Should it be a... I don't know. Who can come up with one? I'm never good. I don't do these. I never did a drinking game. Have you, Susan?
No.
No.
No, because I don't like the restriction of having to wait until I'm allowed to drink.
Yeah, right. I want a drink.
The same thing with Passover, you know.
But
no, not till the blessing is said. What? I want to...
Well, the reason I brought it up is I'm looking at this thing I came across about the drinks that some famous people drank, that known to be their drink of choice. If anybody can come up, meanwhile, while I'm doing this, come up with an excuse for a drinking game, email me. Lynn at PGH City Paper. Okay, so what was Ben Franklin's drink of choice?
Well, he liked France a lot. It wasn't wine.
Yes, it was a kind of wine, an oxidized and fortified wine known as Madeira.
Ah, Madeira, my dear.
Yes, have some Madeira, my dear.
I have a very nice sauce that I do for chicken with Madeira.
With Madeira, yes. Okay, Ernest Hemingway. You'd think he'd have like just slugs of scotch or something. What would Ernest Hemingway be? You will not.
He was probably a bourbon sort of a guy.
Yeah, right. But you won't believe this.
Really?
No, you won't believe what his drink was.
White wine.
Jess got it. Mojito.
Oh, no. That's not a modern contrivance?
No. Mojito. It's a girly drink. It's
not back then.
No, it is. It's rum and champagne and sugar and mint. Jeez. Truman Capote.
Well, he liked his drink.
He sure did. What do you think
Well, I'm going to just say champagne.
What did Truman drink? No, I think he liked screwdrivers. Truman drank screwdrivers. He called it his orange drink. Oh, these are surprising. Jack Kerouac. Wouldn't you think his would be his would be probably anything that would wash down the LSD or whatever.
Right.
No.
I'd just go for a beer.
No, he liked a margarita. All right.
All these it's all, you know what? They didn't like alcohol.
Do you think? I don't know.
These are all drinks you drink if you don't actually like the taste of alcohol, which unfortunately, I do.
All right.
This
one makes more
sense. We drink most of our alcohol straight.
Yeah. Well, this makes more sense. Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, well, he just drank. Let me think if I can. He wasn't he's not a straight up sort of a guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's got to be drinking whiskey neat.
Scotch, right? Scotch.
Yeah.
Scotch whiskey. And it says, during the filming of African Queen, everyone in the cast, with the exception of Bogart and also hard-drinking John Huston, came down with dysentery. Perhaps thanks to their diet of canned vegetables and scotch.
Right, they didn't touch the water.
And Bogart said, whenever a fly bit Houston or me, it dropped dead. All right. Winston Churchill, and we know he drank.
Well, he drank whiskey too.
He drank at breakfast.
He went through 2/5 a day, I read.
Yeah, he really was an incredible drinker. Whiskey. And it said a British newspaper in 1954 recorded what Churchill ordered on a flight to the United States. Poached egg, toast, jam, butter, cold chicken,
and a bottle of scotch,
grapefruit, and a whiskey soda. Okay? And this is humiliating, I think. Oh, wait, here's Picasso. It's weird. I thought this stuff was like absinthe.
Oh, I was at a beautiful little restaurant on Saturday night, and some woman ordered a drink that I'd never heard of, and I said to the bartender, "What's that?" Because it looked pretty and pink and smelled good. I thought it was grapefruit and something. And he goes, "Oh, it's," and he starts listing these ingredients. He said, "But the secret ingredient is absinthe."
Absinthe. Absinthe makes the heart grow fonder.
Absinthe makes the heart grow fonder, right?
Indeed. It warms the heart, too. All right, and then finally they have President Barack Obama, and this is embarrassing. His drink, Bud Light. Wow! It's embarrassing.
Yeah, not even a good beer.
Right.
Which I can say now from St. Louis because it's not our hometown beer anymore.
Oh my God! PJ sent me this. What? Mice not good for human health research? And it's a picture of a poor mouse, a white mouse, with a human ear growing out of its back. God, what we've done to these mice. You know, I'll tell you, it'd make a good sci-fi picture that the mice come back and do to, that the mice take over.
Yeah, do to us what we did to them.
Oh, my.
And the chimps can do it, too.
Yeah. Okay, Ansel has the drinking game. For tonight's State of the Union, you drink when the Republicans applaud. Oh, you're trying to keep us...
we can't know. Wrong idea.
Or when Boehner applauds. No, we're trying to get drunk here, Ansel. Or every time they show Hillary Clinton, who won't be there. She won't be... Well, that's right. No!
Hillary won't be there.
Each time a Republican nods or shakes his head in opposition or rolls his or her eyes, you can do it on a Republican eye roll. What do you think? That's not bad.
That's not bad.
Okay, Republican eye rolls. And see, that's open to... that's subjective.
I saw one.
Where you see an eye roll, I might not have known.
Others might simply see a blink.
Yes, right, exactly. At any rate, whatever your drink of choice, I heartily recommend it for listening to tonight's speech.
I think I'll do a nice little Titus Zinfandel.
Oh, okay. You're doing Zinfandel? I don't know. I'll have to take it under advisement. I might do absinthe. Isn't that a liqueur?
Yeah. No, it's a more, I don't know, it's more like a tonic. I mean, not as in tonic, but as in medicine. It's, like a...
Oh, Noreen says, drink every time President Obama says, let me be clear. Does he say that a lot? But this is a scripted speech. He says that maybe when he's off the cuff. Well, Noreen, you try that, but that doesn't sound good enough to get me drunk. I don't know.
How about the Every time the president says
All right, let's all behave. Or not. Susan, thank you so very much.
Oh, my goodness, I have to go.
Yes, you do. It's even past time. We had too good
Okay,
too
bye.
Good time. Bye, thanks. And bye to you, too, and Chris Potter joining me tomorrow. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.